The transport shuttle shuddered as it pierced the charcoal-gray clouds surrounding Vesper 9, a world infamous across the Galactic Union by a single terrifying title, Class 7 Death World. Below, endless mountain ranges vanished beneath curtains of rain. Rivers of mud carved through ancient forests, whose trees twisted like giant claws reaching toward the sky. Lightning flashed so frequently that the clouds seemed to pulse with an eerie blue heartbeat. Inside the shuttle, silence had replaced conversation. Nearly 60 cadets from 23 alien civilizations stared through the reinforced windows, their confidence fading with every kilometer they descended. One nervous cadet swallowed hard. Is that normal lightning? Another shook his head. No. Those strikes are hitting the ground every few seconds. A holographic display illuminated at the front of the cabin. Warning: planetary conditions, wind speed, increasing atmospheric instability, severe apex predator activity, elevated survival rating, critical. Several cadets instinctively tightened the straps on their expensive environmental suits. One species began checking oxygen reserves for the third time. Another recalibrated an energy shield. Someone whispered a quiet prayer. At the rear of the shuttle sat the only human, Maya Carter. She wore standard academy fatigues with a faded green jacket thrown over her shoulders. Unlike everyone else, she wasn't surrounded by crates of survival equipment. At her feet rested one small backpack. That was all. Across the aisle, a tall crystalline cadet named Serac stared at the tiny bag before glancing at his own mountain of gear. Is that everything? Maya looked up. It usually is. The nearby cadets exchanged confused looks. One of the insectoid students clicked his mandibles in disbelief. You do realize this is Vesper 9? I read the briefing. You only brought one bag. I packed everything I need. The insectoid looked genuinely concerned. What if your equipment fails? Maya smiled. Then I'll improvise. The surrounding aliens fell silent. Improvisation wasn't a survival strategy. It was what happened immediately before an accident report. The shuttle landed with a violent jolt. Outside, rain hammered against the hull so hard it sounded like thousands of tiny explosions. The loading ramp lowered. Cold air rushed inside. Every cadet instinctively stepped backward. It wasn't merely cold. The air itself felt heavy, carrying the scent of wet earth, pine resin, and ozone from distant lightning strikes. Towering cliffs surrounded the landing zone. Beyond them stretched forests so dense that even advanced scanners struggled to penetrate the canopy. Massive footprints filled with rainwater marked the muddy ground. Nobody wanted to guess what had made them. An instructor walked down the ramp first. Commander Varesh. A veteran survival specialist whose scarred armor told stories no textbook ever could. His deep voice cut through the storm. Welcome to the Galactic Survival Academy's final field examination. The cadets assembled in disciplined rows. You have trained for 4 standard years. His eyes slowly scanned the formation. Everything you have learned will now be tested. Lightning cracked across the sky. The ground vibrated. Varesh didn't even blink. This world does not care about your intelligence. Another flash. It does not care about your rank. Thunder rolled across the valley. It certainly does not care about your fear. Several cadets shifted uneasily. Varesh continued. Vesper 9 has claimed the lives of explorers, scientists, mercenaries, and military veterans. He paused. The weather alone has a confirmed fatality count exceeding 9,000. No one spoke. The only sound came from relentless rain striking helmets and armor. The purpose of this exercise is simple. He pointed toward the endless wilderness. Stay alive. The Academy drones began distributing navigation devices and emergency beacons. Cadets immediately compared equipment. Who had the strongest shields? Who had thermal generators? Who carried plasma shelters? The conversations became increasingly anxious. I heard the rain here dissolves certain ales. My instructor said the rivers change direction during storms. They found a predator last year that hunted by sensing fear hormones. You heard wrong. The calm interruption came from Maya. Everyone turned toward her. One cadet folded his arms. You've been quiet. I was listening. And? She shrugged. Most of those stories are exaggerated. The group blinked. Serac tilted his crystalline head. You've studied this world? No. Then how would you know? Maya looked toward the dark mountains beyond the landing zone. They sound familiar. Nobody understood what she meant. Commander Varesh activated another holographic display. This year's examination includes an environmental complication. The screen displayed swirling clouds covering nearly half the continent. Gasps spread through the crowd. One cadet whispered, "No?" Varesh nodded. "Correct." His expression remained perfectly serious. A planetary superstorm. The hologram zoomed in. The cyclone dwarfed entire mountain ranges. Winds exceeded the safe operating limits of most civilian spacecraft. Lightning density was unlike anything many cadets had ever seen. This phenomenon has earned the local designation. Varesh paused. The planet killer. The name alone drained the color from several faces. It is projected to arrive within 8 hours. Immediate panic broke out. 8 hours? That's impossible. We need fortified shelters. Our teams won't be ready. One cadet hurriedly opened his survival manual. Another demanded additional supplies. A third asked whether the exercise could be postponed. Varesh simply watched. Without sympathy. Without reassurance. Because survival never offered either. Amid the rising panic, Maya quietly stepped toward the edge of the landing platform. She extended one hand into the falling rain. Cool droplets splashed across her fingers. She looked at the dark clouds with relaxed eyes. Then she smiled. Nice weather. Silence. Every nearby cadet slowly turned toward her. Serac stared in complete disbelief. Nice weather? Another cadet laughed nervously. She's joking. She has to be. No intelligent species would say that. Maya simply pulled her hood over her head. I've seen worse. Nobody knew whether to laugh or worry. Then, whoa! A deafening emergency siren erupted across the academy base. Red warning lights flashed along every landing tower. The instructors instantly looked toward the western horizon. Their expressions changed. Commander Varesh's eyes narrowed. Impossible. The massive wall of black clouds was no longer 8 hours away. It was already there. The planet-killer storm had arrived hours ahead of every prediction. The emergency siren had barely finished echoing across the landing zone when the sky seemed to collapse. A wall of black clouds surged over the mountains with impossible speed, swallowing the afternoon light in seconds. The temperature plunged so abruptly that several cadets gasped as frost formed across their helmet visors. Commander Varesh's voice boomed through external speakers. All cadets. Execute Survival Protocol 1. Reach designated shelter zones immediately. Move. The orderly formation dissolved into chaos. Rain slammed into the ground like falling gravel. Wind howled through the valley with such violence that supply crates slid across the mud as though they weighed nothing. Then the first lightning strike landed. It wasn't merely bright. It was blinding. A towering pine exploded into splinters less than 100 meters away, showering the clearing with burning debris before the freezing rain extinguished every ember. The alien cadets ran. Some activated personal shield generators. Others deployed hovering navigation drones. Several relied on powered exoskeletons to fight against the hurricane-force wind. Maya simply tightened the straps of her backpack. She looked toward the mountains, watching the direction of the rain instead of the panic around her. Wind shifted, she murmured. She glanced uphill. Flash flood in about 10 minutes. No scanner had predicted that. The teams scattered toward reinforced emergency shelters built throughout the training zone. At least, that had been the plan. The storm had other ideas. A deafening crack echoed overhead. Several ancient trees snapped under the force of the wind, crashing across the main evacuation trail. The cadets at the front stumbled backward. The path is blocked. Find another route. Our maps aren't updating. A navigation drone suddenly spiraled into the ground. Its anti-gravity systems flickered once, then died. One by one, more drones dropped from the sky. Electromagnetic interference. Their sophisticated equipment had been designed for battlefields, radiation zones, even asteroid impacts. But Vesper 9's atmosphere ignored engineering. Panic spread faster than the storm itself. My shield's losing power. My thermal regulator just failed. I can't contact my squad. My compass is spinning. A reptilian cadet fell to one knee, shivering violently. His environmental suit flashed red. Core temperature critical. I can't feel my hands. Another cadet tried to help him. The wind knocked both of them into the mud. Maya watched the confusion for only a second. Then she moved. Not by following the crowd. By leaving it. Serac spotted her. Human! You're going the wrong way. Without slowing, Maya called over her shoulder. No. She pointed toward a line of dark cliffs barely visible through the rain. The shelters are down there. She gestured in another direction. The safe ground is over here. Several cadets stared at her. The maps disagree. The maps were made before the storm. Another flash of lightning illuminated the valley. For a split second, Maya saw water racing down the mountainside. Exactly where the evacuation route crossed. She stopped. Closed her eyes. Listened. The roar grew louder. Run! Her voice carried above the wind. Get off the trail. Now! Some hesitated. Others followed instinct and obeyed. 3 seconds later, an avalanche of water, rocks, uprooted trees, and black mud exploded across the original path. The flood erased the trail completely. Every cadet who had stepped aside survived. Every alien looked back at the destroyed route with horrified silence. Serac slowly turned toward Maya. How? She shrugged. You could hear it. The aliens exchanged confused glances. Hear it? None of them had heard anything except the storm. The rain intensified. Needle-like ice mixed with freezing water, striking exposed skin with painful force. A flying predator screeched somewhere inside the clouds. Another answered. Then another. They're hunting. Someone whispered. Commander Varesh's voice crackled over emergency comms. Remain together. Predators are being displaced by the storm. The transmission dissolved into static. Communication was gone. Nearly 2 kilometers away, inside the Academy's command center, dozens of instructors watched live drone feeds. Most screens showed confusion. Cadets slipping. Equipment failing. Groups becoming separated. One monitor suddenly displayed Maya. She wasn't running. She was studying the forest. Commander Varesh frowned. What is she doing? A younger instructor zoomed the camera closer. She's watching the trees. Maya crouched beside several wind-bent pines. She pressed one hand against damp moss. Touched the soil. Looked toward the clouds. Then calmly changed direction. Seconds later, A massive tree crashed exactly where she had been walking. Several instructors froze. She predicted that. No scanner warned her. How? Nobody answered. The storm grew even worse. Visibility dropped to only a few meters. The remaining cadets became separated one after another. A panicked voice echoed through the forest. Help! Then another. We're trapped. Maya followed the sound. She found two insected cadets pinned beneath a fallen branch far too heavy for either of them to move. One looked up in disbelief. The human? Instead of wasting words, Maya examined the trunk. Too heavy to lift directly. She searched the area. Picked up a long fallen limb. Positioned a rounded stone beneath it. A simple lever. She pushed. The branch rose just enough. Move! The cadets crawled free. The branch slammed back into the mud. The insectoid stared. You didn't use machinery. I didn't need to. Before either alien could thank her, Maya was already walking again. There are more people out here. Hours seemed to pass inside the endless storm. One rescue became another. A frightened avian cadet whose wings had frozen. A mammalian student suffering from hypothermia. Two crystalline twins trapped between shattered rocks. Each time, Maya remained calm. She never wasted movement, never panicked, never complained. When darkness approached, the rescued cadets gathered beneath an overhanging cliff. One shivered. Our thermal units are dead. Another looked around hopelessly. We'll freeze before morning. Maya removed her backpack. From inside, she pulled only the simplest tools. A knife. A coil of cord. A metal cup. Nothing advanced. Nothing expensive. The aliens watched in confusion as she collected dried bark hidden beneath fallen logs, stripped resin-rich wood from broken branches, and built a small windbreak using rocks. Moments later, a tiny spark. Then another. Smoke curled upward. Finally, fire. Warm, orange, unmistakably real. No plasma igniter. No fusion starter. No energy cell. Just skill. The rescued cadets instinctively moved closer to the warmth. One stared into the flames. I thought humans depended on technology. Maya smiled faintly. Technology helps. She held her hands toward the fire. But knowing what to do when it fails helps more. Silence settled around the group. Not fearful silence. Respectful silence. Back in the command center, every instructor had stopped watching the other cadets. Every screen now focused on Maya. One instructor quietly broke the silence. This shouldn't be possible. Commander Varesh folded his arms. No. It isn't. The younger officer looked at the growing group of survivors gathered around the human-made fire. They're alive because of her. Another instructor slowly shook her head. I kept looking for the lucky break. She watched Maya calmly teaching frightened cadets how to dry their gloves over warm stones instead of directly above the flames. There wasn't one. Commander Varesh finally spoke, his voice almost a whisper. She isn't surviving because she's lucky. His eyes never left the monitor. She's completely comfortable. At that exact moment, every drone monitoring Maya's position emitted the same piercing warning tone. Unknown lifeform detected. A massive heat signature appeared deep inside the storm. Far larger than any predator listed in the Academy's database. The signal moved once. Every drone locked onto it. Then, the video feeds went black. One after another. The command center fell into stunned silence. The command center fell silent. Every monitor displayed the same message. Signal lost, drone connection terminated. Commander Varesh stared at the empty screens, his jaw tightening. Bring the backup satellites online. They're already trying, Commander. No visual? The communications officer shook her head. Nothing. The storm is reflecting every scan. Whatever entered that valley, it's blocking everything. Another instructor swallowed. Do we launch a rescue team? Varesh looked toward the raging storm beyond the command center's armored windows. Not yet. His answer sounded cruel. It wasn't. Sending another team blindly into a Class 7 superstorm would only create more victims. All they could do now was trust the cadets. Or hope. Miles away, beneath the rocky overhang, Maya slowly lifted her head. The wind had changed. The rain hadn't. The temperature hadn't. But something else had. The forest had become quiet. Completely quiet. No birds. No insects. No distant predator calls. Every natural sound had vanished. The rescued cadets noticed it too. Serac looked around nervously. Why did everything stop? Maya didn't answer immediately. She stood and walked to the edge of the shelter. Her eyes scanned the darkness between the trees. Then she spoke in a calm voice. Because something bigger is here. The words sent a chill through every cadet. The ground trembled. Not violently. Slowly. Deliberately. Thump. 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 Each footstep carried through the soaked earth. The trees ahead bent apart. Something enormous moved between them. A silhouette emerged through sheets of rain. It stood nearly 3 stories tall. Dark armored scales reflected flashes of lightning. 4 powerful legs pressed into the mud, leaving craters behind. Its tail alone was thicker than an ancient tree trunk. 2 golden eyes opened in the darkness. The creature stopped. Every cadet froze. One avian student whispered through trembling breaths, "That's impossible." The Academy database had classified this species as nearly extinct. No living cadet had ever reported seeing one. An adult Vesper Titan. The apex predator of Vesper 9. The creature inhaled deeply. Its nostrils flared. It was scenting them. Several cadets instinctively reached for emergency weapons. Maya's voice cut through the panic. Don't. Nobody moved. It'll think you're challenging it. One cadet whispered, You know this thing? No. She kept her eyes on the giant animal. But I know predators. The Titan took one slow step forward. Its enormous claws sank into the soaked earth. Another step. The cadets could hear its breathing. Heavy. Controlled. Curious. Not aggressive. Yet. Serac whispered, It's looking at us. No. Maya quietly corrected him. It's looking at me. The Titan lowered its massive head. Its golden eyes remained fixed on Maya alone. The others expected her to run. Instead, she slowly lowered her own gaze, relaxed her shoulders, kept her hands visible. She deliberately turned her body slightly sideways, making herself appear smaller, less threatening. One cadet stared in disbelief. What are you doing? The same thing wildlife experts on Earth have done for centuries. The Titan sniffed the air again. Its head tilted. Lightning flashed overhead. For one endless moment, human and predator simply watched one another. Then Maya slowly took a single step backward. Not turning around. Not making sudden movements. Another step. The Titan did not follow. She spoke softly without looking away. Everyone. Back away. Slowly. No one runs. No one screams. The terrified cadets obeyed without question. The retreat felt endless. Every step through the mud seemed louder than thunder. One frightened cadet slipped. A sharp cry escaped his throat. Instantly, the Titan's head snapped toward the sound. Several cadets gasped. Maya reacted immediately. She picked up a loose branch and tossed it deep into the forest. The branch crashed through thick bushes several dozen meters away. The Titan's ears twitched. Its attention shifted toward the new noise. Exactly as Maya had hoped. Keep moving, she whispered. The group disappeared behind a rocky ridge. Only then did Maya allow herself one careful glance back. The enormous predator had already lost interest. It wandered toward the sound she'd created before disappearing into the storm. Only after it was gone did anyone breathe again. Serac looked at Maya as though seeing her for the first time. How? You weren't afraid? Maya smiled tiredly. I was. You couldn't tell. Being afraid isn't the problem. She adjusted her backpack. Panicking is. Less than an hour later, the howl of engines echoed above the valley. The storm was finally weakening. Heavy rescue shuttles descended through the thinning clouds while armored emergency teams secured the landing zone. Commander Varesh was among the first to step onto the soaked ground. His eyes immediately found Maya and the group of cadets standing safely behind her. Every single rescued student was alive. Several instructors exchanged astonished looks. According to every survival model, that should have been impossible. Back at the Academy medical facility, exhausted cadets received treatment, while instructors reviewed the mission recordings recovered from surviving drones. The briefing hall remained unusually quiet. Commander Varesh stepped onto the platform. Behind him appeared a classified Galactic Archives symbol. Murmurs spread through the room. One instructor frowned. Commander, those records are sealed. They were. Varesh activated the display. A rotating image of Earth appeared. Blue oceans. Towering mountain ranges. Vast deserts. Polar ice. Violent storms. Active volcanoes. The screen filled with statistics. Planetary hazard index, extreme climate diversity, megafauna history, natural disaster frequency. Gasps echoed throughout the hall. An Academy historian stepped forward. For centuries, we believed humanity was merely adaptable. He shook his head. We were wrong. Another image appeared. A comparison chart. Vesper 9. Earth. The room became even quieter. Earth ranked among the harshest naturally evolving inhabited worlds ever discovered. Commander Varesh addressed every cadet. Most civilizations eliminated environmental danger long before reaching space. He looked toward Maya. Humans didn't. Images flashed across the screen. Blizzards. Hurricanes. Earthquakes. Wildfires. Floods. Predators. Dense jungles. Frozen mountains. Burning deserts. Human civilization wasn't built despite these conditions. It was built because they learned to survive them. An instructor added quietly, their greatest survival tool was never technology. It was experience. Commander Varesh turned toward the Academy Council. I am submitting an immediate revision to Galactic Survival Doctrine. The room watched silently. Effective next training cycle. He paused. Human wilderness survival techniques will become mandatory instruction for every cadet attending this academy. Nobody objected. Nobody laughed. The same cadets who had mocked Maya's tiny backpack stood to their feet. Serac was the first. He placed one fist across his chest in the traditional academy salute. Cadet Maya Carter. His voice carried through the hall. Thank you? One by one. Every alien cadet repeated the salute. Not because regulations demanded it. Because respect did. Maya looked genuinely embarrassed. I only did what anyone back home would have done. The room burst into soft laughter. Several instructors exchanged amused looks. If that was true, Earth was even more terrifying than the reports suggested. The following morning, sunlight finally broke through the clouds over Vesper 9. The surviving cadets boarded the Academy shuttle for the journey home. As the engines powered up, Maya looked out the window. The mountains gleamed beneath fresh rain. Mist drifted peacefully through the forests. She smiled. Tomorrow's forecast looks even better. Every alien within earshot slowly turned toward her. Nobody laughed this time. They simply stared, wondering what kind of world could make someone think this was nice weather. As the shuttle lifted into the sky, Commander Varesh's final Academy announcement echoed through the cabin. Attention, cadets. Beginning next term, all survival examinations will be redesigned according to human environmental standards. A stunned silence followed. Then someone quietly asked, "What exactly counts as normal on Earth?"